I'm going to be talking about pressure. So who else has experienced pressure? Everyone. We risk, we've lost. We've had all those experiences. So I'm going to go back to nationals, national championships. I had trained my entire life for this one moment. And it was the last competition of my career. And the day before was the worst performance of my life. Everything went wrong, literally everything. I got in my own way, got in my own head. And so I reached this point the next day where I'm standing behind the start, and this peace came over me, and I just didn't care anymore. I didn't understand it at all. It didn't make any sense. I trained everything for this one moment. I rode my bike 10 miles just to get to workouts. I went to sleep envisioning this one moment, and then all of a sudden, I just didn't care. It was strange. I got up on the start, and the start happened, the finish happened, but I don't remember the in-between, which is really, it was the first time that's ever happened. When I touched the wall, I'd always kind of disciplined myself that I would never put the number 1 in the air. But this time, it was mine. I had won. I had won the national championship.
Yes.
All right.
And so I invite all of us to look at pressure in a way that maybe you've never looked at it before. Pressure equals opportunity in my world. Okay, so the better you handle pressure, the more opportunity that you'll get. So your destiny is basically wrapped up in your relationship with pressure. Okay? So let's go back to the competition. What happened just prior to the competition is important. My coach was a world record holder, and he challenged me. The 2 years before, I had been second in the nation. And he had said to me each year, he said, Seth, why are you apologizing for your greatness? I was like, what the heck is he talking about? I'm racing the Olympic gold medalist. I'm beating him most of the race. He about touched me at the end. The next time he asked me, he said, why are you asking for permission? What is he talking about? I'm second in the nation. And then finally he said, why don't you just go take it? So the final year, I reached this point where I had basically transcended this moment. I had moved beyond it, and I had accepted the win, the loss, and the pressure disappeared. And I remember I was behind the blocks, and I said, F these people. I'm not going to cuss. F this race. I'm going to F and take it. It was that simple. I'm taking this. And this peaceful, when you hear the F word a lot, right, you think of aggression, but this was actually just being a peaceful warrior, like something had just transcended. It had moved through me. In Star Wars, you hear Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan saying, trust the Force. He's talking about allow the life force to flow through you, right? So I started, after this, I started processing this with all the different people that I work with, and I call it the F switch. And I help people to reach this moment of transcendence because you train your entire life for this one moment. Your ego is very involved in that accomplishment because you have so much you think at risk. And so what I'm trying to help people to do is to be able to move through it and be able to let go. So my name is Seth Pepper, and I've had the good fortune to work with the most elite athletes on the planet, literally. It's awesome. They did way more than I did. And I also work with coaches and teams, and then I started sharing my story, and then I started working with business people, even billionaires with a B, C-suite, sales executives, and then also New York fashion designers and film directors they just recently released one of the films. It's #1 globally for Netflix. And so what are we all doing? We're working on pressure. If you think about all these different people, they have great opportunity, they have great risk, and in that moment I want them to transcend. I want them to move beyond, okay? So if I go back to the very beginning, before all of the accomplishments, I started swimming when I was 14 in a sport where people usually start when they're 6. So I was always convinced that if I could set my mind to it, I could do it. Now my brother, he lives right next door in our family home, he started when he was 17. I taught him the same things, and he became a national champion. And also, we both went on the international stage and won medals at the World Championships. We're the first brothers to ever do that. So, thank you. So I think it's possible for all of us to be able to transcend pressure. So I'm going to take you through a metaphor. I use a lot of metaphors when I coach because it's just easier to remember. I have a simple mind, so I want to have something that they can actually take out into battlefield. So you're going to be ready to go out this room and be able to use it. So I call it the big wave. Okay, the big wave. The big wave surfers, those guys that are going down those towering waves, they have incredible amounts of being in the moment, being present, being in the zone, the flow state, all those things. They're all basically the same thing. They experience it more often. Okay? So the 3 elements that they're dealing with, I call it the tripod, 3 legs. The first is that they have control. So they better be able to surf those waves. Okay? So an example of control would be, I work with Major League Baseball players. So whether it's a pitcher throwing at 100 miles an hour or it's the batter that has to hit it at 100 miles an hour, they can actually slow it down. They have an incredible amount of control in that environment. So they can do the task that's asked. The second element, the second leg, is unpredictability. Okay, so the surfer doesn't know how the wave's going to break. He has a general idea, but he doesn't know exactly. And so a good example, I work with Formula race car drivers, and they're going 200 miles an hour into a corner. They don't know what's going to happen, especially with a lot of cars going on. Very unpredictable. The next example is pressure. Or not example, but actually the third leg is pressure. So that's where the risk comes into this. If the surfer crashes, they could literally die. Okay? So an example of that, because it's all perspective, so I work with PGA Master Champion, and he has a 20-foot putt on the line to win and $500,000 if he sinks this little white ball into that hole that's a ways away. It's all on the line. There's incredible amount of pressure. Okay? So what ended up happening to me after my career was that I started having debilitating panic attacks. I realized afterwards, going through, working with people that could help me on the other side, was that when I got so focused into the results and I thought that I was the result, then my self-worth was on the line. And so once I realized that I was a human being, not a human doing, everything changed. Literally everything changed. So I had to accept that I was going to learn through failure. That's the human condition. That's what we all have to learn to live with, and that's the process. And so, again, I had to let go. That was the only control, was to let go. And so in life, I'm able to take and transcend so that I can actually let go of the control of my life and be able to surf the wave. So that's what I hope is, and my wish for everyone, is that everyone can transcend. They can get into that wave. You can bigger and bigger waves, bigger and bigger pressure. And then it actually creates this ripple effect, because then you're able to, when you transcend, you actually inspire others to be able to do the same thing. So my name's Seth Pepper, and thank you.